Now, gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the differences between a bike and an e-bike. So we've already discussed a little bit that you may have had some comments, maybe complaints. I don't know, probably just jabs or jives or whatever you'd say. Now we're going to discuss the differences. So I have here a little bit of background information. Now I'd memorize all this myself, but my brain is not that big. It's enough for a camera. Now then, background information for this little bit of topic is from 2020 to 2022, over 900,000 e-bikes are sold in the US market. Quite good. Now the market size for the e-bike is 0.8 billion, whereas bikes is 6 billion. So the market share is at 15% for e-bikes, whereas bicycles at 85%. So obviously bicycles are more popular, yeah? Now, what would you say could be a major conflict between cyclists and e-bikers?
Major conflicts.
Could there be any conflicts in in that world?
Yeah, sometimes I think I see that cyclists think this is more their space. So if they see an electric bike, they might liken it to a dirt bike or another thing with a motor, a petrol motor. But I don't get too many comments on that.
I see. Interesting. Gary, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's very similar. Occasionally you'll run into a group of bicyclists that think you're invading their space, because of when you look at the Himiway compared to a bicycle, it looks similar to what they would classify as a motorbike. There's some thinking that maybe you should be on the road as opposed to in their bicycle lane or whatever.
Yeah, there's been a few comments that we've had online. We've just been looking at what we've been getting from our forums. And the major conflict comes down as this. This is a vast generalization, but this is the general attitude. Bike riders say that e-bike riders are cheaters, and e-bikes are designed for lazy people. Now, I would say this is somewhat true for myself. I am a lazy man, but I like that, and I don't mind. Would you say that it could be considered a form of cheating to have an e-bike?
I think if there was a competition, yes, but of course the e-bike wouldn't be allowed. So for what I use it for, there's no competing against anyone. I'm not racing.
It's purely recreational.
Purely recreational. So I don't really see who I could be cheating.
No. Gary, anything?
Yeah, I don't see who I'm cheating. If it wouldn't be for the using an e-bike, I wouldn't be riding. It's that simple.
I see.
I mean, trying to get on a regular bicycle at my age and go the distances that I do now, 10 miles or 12 miles, one direction. There's no way I'm going to do that on a regular bicycle and then have the energy to be able to pedal back. So it would make my distances much, much shorter. And yeah, if somebody wants to consider it cheating at my age, I really don't care. Quite frankly, I'm not doing it for someone else. I'm doing it for me.
Exactly.
I've got my physical limitations with my knee problem, and that's what I'm interested in. If you think I'm cheating, that's your problem, not mine.
I tend to agree with that myself. Which brings us on to the e-bikers' attitude towards cyclists. Now again, e-bikers say that the people with cyclists are with a stubborn mindset and always tend to get a sense of superiority on their bicycles. Now, as a man that used to ride a scooter on the roads around England and various other areas, I do tend to find, yes, cyclists do tend to take up the road, but maybe I'm just quite biased because I have a personal grudge against cyclists, especially on the canal, because they're very passive-aggressive with their little bells. But maybe that's just me. Would you say that cyclists have a stubborn mindset?
I think some of them definitely can be stubborn. We definitely see that they can be more purist about cycling. And the whole idea that, this space should be only for us, I think is pretty stubborn and arrogant.
What do you think that the fear comes from there?
Oh, fear of losing the space. Maybe they think it'll be too overpopulated with people on electric bikes, and maybe they think they'll lose that space. But I don't find that to be true. Instead, if I go on wild trails, it's typically pretty open.
Aye. Do you tend to find a lot of the cyclists or e-bikers are generally a lot of folk around there?
Yeah, but run into a lot of good people.
So it's just passing by.
Yeah.
What about you, Gary? Thoughts?
I find in my cycling club where we have a mixture that the regular bicycle riders are, they're very stubborn. And, let me explain. The age group in my cycling club is, starts at around 50. I'm at the kind of the upper end, 68. But the younger ones that do ride the bike, they will not give them up until I think they're absolutely forced to. Because they still have it's a mental thing with the mindset that I'm going to ride a bicycle. I can still ride a bicycle. It's that old adage, you never forget how to ride a bicycle. That mindset. And yeah, I see that. But it kind of, it's not open or overt, but it's just, you can see that the people, when I talk to them, I try to convince them. I say, look, switch to the e-bike. You'd be surprised. And I'll offer to let them ride. And I've actually convinced a couple of people. I think they're getting close to where they're gonna switch. But yeah,
Are you trying to get them to switch?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are you generally just targeting the older folk, or are you like slowly grabbing at the younger generation?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to push. Bring the what's the old saying? With age comes a certain wisdom. So I tell the younger one. To me, 50 is a younger one. I try to convince them. Come over to the e-bike. You enjoy it.
I think that it's definitely got a lot of charm to it, an e-bike, compared to a bicycle, which, it does have its own charms, but with an e-bike, there's a lot more that you can fiddle around with, I'd say, in terms of, you've got your different components and whatnot. Now, we have taken a list of different comments and attitudes, as well as those general statements. We have some general attitudes. Now, I'd like to just disclaim again, we are painting with a very broad brush here, so let's not split hairs in retaliation. Now, bike riders think e-bikers are, according to the forums and polls that we have had with Himiway, they think that they are cheaters, lazy, fat, kinda, but that's not everyone, no ambition, and losers. How do you feel when you hear those comments? So that's what the cyclists are saying about e-bikers.
Well, I think no ambition is, like you said, very, very vague. It's a big brush. What their ambitions are going to be very different from my ambitions, and I don't really tie this into any ambitions. So if they have the ambition to go out and ride 50 miles on a wild trail, then good for them, to each their own. But to say that you have no ambition, this is something that has brought me back out and is getting me back in the nature and exercising. So there's a little bit of ambition. And losers.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strong one, isn't it?
If we're cheaters, why are we losing?
Right. And also, cheaters, I'm assuming that cycling competitions aren't really going to allow e-bikes in any way. So if you're just doing recreationally, there's not really too much of a problem, I suppose. Gary, what do you think when you hear those comments?
Yeah, I don't. I certainly don't consider it cheating, and I really pay it no mind as far as that aspect. And if people want to consider me a loser, so be it. From an ambition standpoint, though, the e-bike is the reason I got back on the road on a bicycle of any type. It's given me, expanded my opportunities, to get out and meet people. And like I say, I joined a mixed cycling club where, if I had no ambition, I would still be sitting at home complaining about my bad knee rather than out doing something about it.
Oh, that's a lovely way to put it. Thank you, Gary. Now, in return, e-bike riders have said on our forums and various polls, they find that the attitude of cyclists is stubborn, arrogant, and a strong sense of superiority. Now, as a man that does have a genuine grudge against cyclists, but this is mostly from bad memories in Britain along the canal, how would you feel? How do you feel about those comments? Would you say they're accurate towards cyclists, or do you think that's just more firing back for the sake of firing back?
Yeah, I think it's accurate for a small population. Like we said before, people can be superior, but you find this in any sport. Any sport, running, swimming, tennis, golf, doesn't matter. You've always got a small group that has an air of superiority. This is how it should be done, and this is how you should do it. But like I said, to each their own, and I think that's a pretty small population. For the most part, no one really cares. Live and let live.
I'd agree with that myself, if I didn't hit bicycles so much. Oh, get off the canal, it's a pedestrian road. Gary, do you have any more thoughts on this?
I think he pretty much summed it up.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head. All right, let's move on to another topic. Now, we've been taking a look more at our Himiway site, and we've been taking a look at the benefits of riding e-bikes according to our riders. Now, what we've had is we've had people say that they've been riding in a more relaxed and easy way, but less pressure to pedal, which is always nice. It's been a game changer for seniors, as you have mentioned previously, and that's really good to hear. Just need to convince some old family members of mine to do the same. And the payload capacity. I tend to find that's a big one. As you and I would probably say, yeah, bigger payload, most important. Now, there is a lovely quote that we got from a man called Dylan on our YouTube channel. Now, he said, "I am 62 years young and had not ridden a bike in over 45 years. Due to a problem with my left leg, I cannot walk 200 yards without having to stop for a rest." Are you sure you didn't post this? In September last year, while on furlough, I had the chance to try an e-bike. What a game changer. Due to the pedal assist system, I can now ride 50 miles with ease and no stopping to rest because of the bad leg. I go out most weekends in all weathers and I'm slowly building up my fitness level. Without the e-bike, I'd be sat at home or driving a car. He goes on, "This has given me a new lease on life and I enjoy every minute of my time on the bike. The most normal cyclists pass me on the road as I rarely go over 12 miles per hour, so I don't see how it can be classed as cheating. And after all, I'm not racing anyone. I'm just out enjoying the fresh air and the scenery and seeing things I would never see while driving my car." So thank you very much, Dylan. That is a very nice sum up to our discussion. Would you consider yourself, as a younger gentleman compared to our other guest here, would you see yourself riding the e-bike a lot more as you grow older?
Oh, definitely. Every year, as you grow older and older, things start to hurt more and more.
That's true.
So this is, like we said, still active in a sense, but definitely more low impact.
Have you had any injuries so far that have required the help of the e-bike?
Nope, not for myself.
All right. Well, here's hoping that doesn't happen for a long, long time. Right. Now, we've already discussed why do you reckon that people might distrust e-bikes or be unsure of them. Can you think of any other reasons as to, not necessarily a cyclist, but just generally anyone might be suspicious of an e-bike?
Suspicious in what way?
Suspicious in, should I buy it? Is this safe to have? Is this something that I would want to see more of on the roads?
Okay. I think people probably now may be suspicious of battery life. Is it really going to help them? Is it really going to help them to stop using their cars? So maybe they look at that and say, I'm suspicious that it won't actually do that for me. And if they worry about batteries, because this technology is always growing and improving, maybe they say, oh, I get on an e-bike and I try to go 5 miles and the battery dies, so maybe I just get a normal bike.
Fair enough. Gary, thoughts?
Yeah, I think the battery is probably one of the top issues that would make people a bit hesitant. But, you know, the one thing that the Zebra Head feature has that I really like is the battery is enclosed. So it's going to be somewhat protected from the, the moisture and the weather, because invariably when you're riding, you're going to get caught in bad weather. There's no doubt, you're going to get caught in some rain, and I found that enclosed the way it is, that's not an issue. I've used it in the rain without any problems.
Lovely. I tend to find that I get a bit worried when it's particularly hot, because your battery's already getting quite warm. You're quite worried that maybe something might short fuse. Generally, as a good precaution, always leave your bicycle somewhere nice and shady if it's particularly hot. Now, objectively looking, you are fellow Himi riders, but can you think of any advantages that the bicycle has over our Himiway e-bikes?
So a normal bicycle is definitely a better form of exercise, I say. It's definitely higher impact. You're going to get more benefit from doing that. But it's if your body can handle that. Can you take a cycle out for long periods of time and long distances? Great. Do you have the flexibility to do that? Then great.
I see. Gary, I already can assume what you're going to say in terms of the positives and negatives of a bicycle.
For me, a bicycle is out. I mean, I could ride one for a short distance, but the e-bike gives me the advantage of being able to, especially with the different gear changes and the pedal assist, and knowing that when I do get a little bit tired, or if I come into a bit of a hilly terrain, I can use the motor. I mean, that just for me, there's no comparison at my age. And also with the stability of the Himiway e-bike, the fat tires compared to the skinny little bicycle tires, maybe a lot less risk of an accident, which, one of the reasons that I use mine the way I do with the cycle club and going to meet people is so someone knows where I am. If at my age, I'm not going to be out in the mountains like Ryan, and then, the risk that I'm going to take a lot less risk. And the e-bike, definitely, it's much safer than just a regular bicycle for anybody, really, but for a person of my age, absolutely.
Definitely. That brings me on to my next question. Now, objectively speaking, do you think that e-bikes might eventually match sales of bicycles or even outmatch them? Or do you think that there's still going to always be that majority of cyclists?
I think as batteries improve, more people will become more interested in electric bikes. I think this will pull more people in because of the versatility and just for the ease of life. But I think cycling is a pretty big sport, and so it will probably always have an edge.
I think you need to look at age groups. I mean,
That's an interesting way.
if you probably do like 30 and under, hands down, it's probably the majority are going to go with a bicycle because they're not unless they have some sort of physical handicap, they're not really going to be interested in.
But then again, we are seeing an aging population pretty much all over the world.
And I think that's where I would see the growth in the market. The e-bike market would be in the as the population in the older groups. My age group. When you get above 50,
Things start.
and as the body starts to deteriorate a bit, I think you'll see more growth in market share there. Definitely.
That and a lot more health insurance letters saying, you're getting old, give us your money. That's what my father says he gets badgered with anyway. Now, according to research that we have online, fewer Americans won't continue to ride if e-bike doesn't show up in the industry. Do you believe that statement to be true? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it could be true. Like I said, if I didn't have my e-bike, I probably wouldn't go out and do it.
So even if you had a regular bicycle, you probably would bother?
Because of the time constraints or the just knowing that I could get back a lot quicker, I would probably do it a lot less.
I see. And assuming that obviously...
Oh, absolutely.
In your age group.
Yeah, my age group, I'm not going to be out there on the bicycle. And, there are many things I can do with the e-bike that they can't do with a regular bicycle.
What other forms of exercise would you probably resort to if e-bikes were around? Would you still exercise at all, or would you at least try something? Like maybe yoga indoors, or I don't know, a press-up?
Just a press-up.
In my case, my fallback exercise is walking.
Just walking?
Yeah, I'm not, with my legs, I'm not capable of running a far distance. And
How far can you walk on average?
normal though, just for what you want to do, a pattern that I had was to walk for an hour out and an hour back. Enough to get the heart rate elevated. A couple of miles out, a couple of miles back. Something that you could do in about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I see. That's wonderful. Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
Cool. What would your fallback? Would you also go walking, or do you reckon that you just stay in the house, keep your eye on the kids?
Oh, I would like to imagine that I would go out and do something. Different form of walking. Probably go trekking, go hiking.
Where'd you go hike if you could?
Anywhere. I mean, definitely not on the road.
We want to pad out a bit of time, why not?
And this is the great thing about these trails even, is you can use them for hiking. So
I take it there's like a lot of different like variation in altitude there.
yeah, different altitudes, different levels of heights, different distances. Are you camping? Are you not camping? So once again, I'd like to imagine, I think as my kids get older, then this is something we could all do together.
Yeah. It's always nice to go out on a family outage. My dad used to take me mountaineering in England. He would take me up to a place called Kinder Scout. It took about 5 hours to get to the top, but that's only because we lost the map halfway up. I think by the end, we ended up climbing down a waterfall. And I was only about 7. I thought we were going to miss the last train, and I was screaming, my mum's never going to see me again. I'm going to die here, crows are going to pick at me. We just get a hotel. It's not the end of the world. It's okay, child.
Logic. Made it through.
Child logic. You just assume you're going to die at any moment. Maybe that's good. Good for survival. Yeah. Anyway, so ends our section on benefits and e-bike versus bicycles. So thank you very much for your thoughts there. Really good stuff. What life was like pre-e-bike. Just general day-to-day stuff.
Why should I invest my life savings in buying an e-car? But again, I'm an environmentalist, and I have been my entire life, but I do not think that electric cars are the solution to reducing CO2.